Welcome to Experiencing Consciousness. My name is Dyba.
And I'm Dr. Kathryn Rossi. We're happy you're here.
Hi, I think we've done it.
We have, Jan. It's wonderful to see you. It's always a pleasure.
Great to see you too. So we are now. It's our first live session on my Facebook page.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really exciting. So welcome everyone.
Yeah, great to see you all. I'm just gonna say that one more time in Polish. Witajcie wszyscy. Będziemy mieli właśnie tutaj spotkanie live i ono będzie prowadzone w języku angielskim, natomiast później na YouTubie i na różnych innych platformach być może, w każdym razie na pewno na YouTubie będzie ono dostępne z napisami w języku polskim. Okay, so I just said that it's going to be led in English and then it's going to be available on YouTube with Polish subtitles.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Okay, so where do we want to start?
Well, pardon me. I think we should start with everybody thinking about what is their definition of hypnosis. So, Jan, what is your definition of hypnosis?
My definition of hypnosis, well, that's tricky. It depends on the context, you know. I mean, usually I'm thinking about it in terms of, I would say if I were to divide between two ideas, thinking about hypnosis in terms of altered state or in terms of the behavioral theory of learning, I'm more into going into the idea of altered state of mind. And that altered state, in my working definition is that it creates kind of environment that actually helps you to work better during therapeutic session, or and I mean in any context actually, where so that people can actually focus better on something, go through something more deeply, experience things in a deeper way, deeper sense, and a bit stronger. So it's actually a kind of engine that makes therapy more intense. I mean, that's the working definition that I have. What do you think about hypnosis? What's your definition?
Well, the first and foremost is it's individual. And that when all is said and done, with Milton Erickson, the modern day father of therapeutic hypnosis, he referred to it as a special state. And when you think about that, a special state is a really individual process. And that what do you do in that special state that you're in? So the special state is like a trance state. Well, you could be in a trance state watching a fabulous movie, right? But when you're in a trance state and you're looking for growth or you're looking for resolution, that I think that's when it becomes really focused. And so my working definition is the same as my husband Ernest Rossi's working definition, which is focused attention and expectancy. And with that expectancy, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know the answers because it's not on the conscious linear level. This is what makes it a special state. And so all of a sudden, that whether you're going to call it the unconscious or the pre-conscious or the subconscious or the quantum conscious, there are these avenues for consciousnesses beyond the linear, where you already know the answer to the question. So if you can simply focus on what's emerging versus focusing on, I already have the answer. If you already have the answer, you don't need me. And so this to me is the definition of hypnosis, is that it's a special state. It's individual for the person, the place, the timing, all that other kind of thing. It's never the same. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, pretty much. It's always very individualized.
Yes, yes. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that I want everyone that's listening to begin to allow this opening of your consciousness for what Ernie used to call the many worlds that are out there, the many worlds that are on the inside. And then to see, out of curiosity, what's going to come next. Will there be a resolution? Will there be an answer to my question? Will there be a direction? Or will there be something else that's more important to me?
So it's actually a state where you can facilitate openness, open-mindedness, something like that, staying open and just waiting for things to come and
Yeah. And deeply honest. Like, if we are honest with ourselves, we don't know everything. We don't know the answers, but we can sure ask the question and we can sure receive what's coming up and then put it through the filters of, well, is that true? Is that moving me? Do I feel a sense of relief? Do I feel a sense of peace? Or am I even more stirred up? Am I even more disturbed? Like, wherever you have a change in modulation, there is always the chance for resolution. And so what I love about the definition of therapeutic hypnosis is that it is individual, and each person for themselves needs to work out what they believe it is today, because tomorrow that might change.
discovered by themselves in a way.
Absolutely. That's where you can, that's where you verify. I have a saying that says, trust but verify. So, you can listen to all the words that I say. And so often people agree with all of them, which is really humbling to me. But I always say, no, 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 no. Don't take my word for it. You go inside, you develop it for yourself, and you find out what's true for you.
So, question that comes to my mind, actually, it wasn't one actually asked that, I believe, but in all this, what are the key therapeutic ingredients or factors that are in the state itself? Why is it actually used therapeutically? And I know I can create the answer to that question, but I'm actually curious, how would you answer it?
Well, what are the ingredients? I think that the first ingredient is what you come with. Do you come with an open mind? And that in general in life, that's just a really good idea, to come with an open mind. And that's part of that special state. And it's almost like it goes with the 4-stage creative cycle, is that so you come with an open mind of whatever questions, problems, or concerns come. And then the next ingredient cannot be underestimated: courage. Courage to stay with what is uncomfortable and unsettling, because nobody ever solved a problem by not facing it. And when you're facing it in a special state, you're giving yourself an opportunity to see and experience it from another point of view. And another part of the ingredients is that some form of resolution wants to come. So if you can hang in there with the courage to experience what you need to experience until something spontaneously pops up, a direction of some kind, sometimes a resolution, sometimes just a sensation. Oh, well, everything's going to be okay. Like nothing's changed in my life. Everything's still really bad. But on the inside, I just know everything's going to be okay. And that's, really is stage 3. And that's where most people stop when they're working with clinical hypnosis. But by adding and so how are you going to put this into your life? Like, that your daily life of what you've experienced, of what you've learned. And, at the very least, have you learned to trust yourself, to have the courage to go deep? That there's always something positive to be found in stage 4 and how you're going to apply it to your life. And I think that this is how we actually solidify it. Is that making sense to you, Jan? How do you see this?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking so it actually by adding the verification part, we are actually saying take that what you experienced or learned in hypnosis and apply it to the outside world. So it's like it can be done by post-hypnotic suggestions or by some kind of homeworks, or just by, someone can just go and experience things in a different way. Just, you verify different attitude, different way of actually thinking, or
so that you can be an individual. And so that when you, the individual, comes to the resolution versus somebody telling you what the resolution is, the difference is night and day. Because when it's really honestly true for you, change can happen that fast. If you have to work through trying to trust me that what I'm saying is right, it's going to take longer.
Yeah, that's true. And
So
to me, the fascinating thing about hypnosis is also the possibility of creativity that it can actually launch and, release. Because to me, that state is also very valuable, because you can actually do, as a client, as someone being in a trance, you can actually do a lot, more than normally. You can go somewhere, experience something like, or if you work, for example, with anxiety, you can actually go to places that you are afraid of and really experience that, while at the same time being safe at the office. And so, the process of actually, working with the anxiety can move, move on and progress a lot because of that, because you can experience very real kind of experiences in this way. For example, so the strength and the possibility of creativity in that state is actually, for me, enormous, and that draws me into researching that and, working in that state, developing it. So that's what I would add to it. But that's something you said, but I wanted just to highlight that.
Oh, absolutely. And the difficult parts in hypnosis, they're always time limited. Whether the therapist says, if you could just experience this for a moment or two, or you give something very specific, if you can experience this for 20 seconds, and then the clinician in 20 seconds, not 21 seconds, but in 20 seconds, it's like, okay, it's time for you to come out of that, or whether it's a minute. Like, so that you can use these time parameters that help to increase the confidence of that individual, and also the comfort of that individual, and the courage of that individual, all the while being really supportive. Because sometimes people are just, they're terrified to even take one tiny movement towards what's difficult. And nature is also not going to keep you there. So there's endless possibilities. And what Erickson would do, that he called it fractionization, to make fractions of it. He used to refer to it as the yo-yoing of consciousness, which I have a real affinity for, because now you're playing with a toy. It's like, I like yo-yos. And it's where literally, you help a person, as I'm saying, like when you're talking about anxiety, of going there, and then you bring them out, and then maybe 5 minutes later, you go in there again, and then you bring them out. And there's, in making decisions about how this is done, it's that's a whole other subject, of the yo-yoing of consciousness. But it helps people to be able to access what they need to access in a time-limited way. And I believe that all of us have the opportunity to live fear-free lives. And so that's one of my guidelines.
This was another episode of our Experiencing Consciousness podcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jan. You're the best. Be well, be happy, celebrate life.